I'll tell you why it's rubbish. I'll tell you why it's rubbish.
You have to be really stupid.
I'll tell you why that's rubbish. Let me make my point.
No, you don't.
Let me answer my point. Were there Jews and Arabs living in that land, and was the majority Arab at that time, before pre-1948?
Yes.
Yes. Did they kill all the Jews?
Well, 1929.
Did they kill all the Jews? Did they kill all the Jews?
As many as they could.
No, they didn't. If they wanted to,
no, they didn't.
If they wanted to,
they couldn't.
Listen, my friend, you don't know your history.
Yes, we do.
Who were the people? Who were the people that introduced Jews? Don't talk over me. Don't talk over me. Who were the people who introduced the Jews back to that land? It was the second caliph. It was the second caliph. Can I make my point?
Without lies.
Can I make my point?
And stop going back.
Can I make my point? Can I make my point?
Let's talk about
Can I make my point?
There are 2 million Arabs.
Can I make my point?
Israel from
this isn't Israel. You don't get to talk over me and not allow me to make my point.
No, finish your point.
So be fair. Be fair.
Finish your answer and I'll answer you.
It was the second caliph Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu who turned and asked, "Where are the Jews?"
I don't know.
And the Christian said, "We killed them and we evicted them from this land." And then he said, "Go and find me 80 families, 80 Jewish families, and this land will be for everybody."
So
that's the reality. Now,
to answer your point,
when we say there was this massacre or there was that massacre, I'm not denying that there were wrongs done by Palestinians, by Arabs, and by Jews. I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is, fundamentally, if you come and you steal a people's land and you evict them from their land forcibly and you shoot their children and you starve them, and as the international community agrees that this is an apartheid state. One law. Let me finish my point. 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 Let me finish. You can come back when it's your turn.
Please come back.
The question was, what's the difference between Netanyahu saying from the river to the sea and the Arabs saying from the river to the sea? And my point was, when Netanyahu says it, he's talking about Israeli sovereignty, which does not mean genocide, because there are 2 million Arabs living in Israel.
But you're assuming
genocide.
Right.
I'm not assuming.
But you're assuming.
You know what? There's the Ask project on YouTube. Go find it. Gilded Chorus.
So why is let him finish his point.
They would not
let him finish his point.
Jews to live in Palestine. In fact, it's illegal for Jews to buy in the Palestinian areas to sell land to Jews.
So the Jews are the victims.
So the Jews would be
Israelis are the victims.
From the river to the sea.
They've taken all the land.
From the river to
but they're the victims.
Would be without
Jews.
Yes.
They've taken all the land, but they're the victims.
You've twisted it
yes.
again. Yeah. No, you've twisted it
Possibly 150,000 people are dead today, but they're the victims. They're always the victims. Always the eternal victims.
Twisted again.
Yes.
Twisted again.
Look at the map.
Twisted again. If there's Palestinian authority from the river to the sea, that is
poor Israelis.
That is genocide.
Poor Israelis.
That would be genocide.
Poor Israelis.
It's not going to happen.
Poor Israelis.
No, it's not going to happen.
You are the victims.
But that is a genocide.
You are the victims.
No.
The genocide.
Yes. You're the victims, but you've stolen all the land, but you're the victims.
I can stay focused.
Yes, you stay focused.
Even if you say we stole, which is a lie.
Oh no, it was your land, right? Of course.
There are 2 million Arabs living there.
There's 2 million Arabs.
Second-class citizens.
They're not.
They're not second
They are.
class.
Do they have the right to return to the land?
Return, they're living there.
Do they have the right to return?
They are living
Do they have legally the right to return? Do they have the right to return to their land? If they're taken out of the country, do they have the right to return? No, they don't. But a Jew living in Manhattan who's never been to Israel has the right to return, right? But the Arab does not have the right to return. Okay, I'm going to make my point.
Right, can I actually ask that I can speak
I'm going to make my point.
Can I speak here, both of you?
No, I'm going to make my point first.
No, because it's getting heated.
I want to make my point. I want to reply. I want to make my point.
Finish, please.
Okay, we can come up with all sorts of justifications and reasons as to why something is right or wrong. We can do that, right? But fundamentally, as I said, and Harvard University did a DNA testing on the Palestinian people. They have roots to that land dating back 3,500 years to the Canaanite people of that land. They are as much of that land as anybody else. Okay? So for another community, regardless of whether they claim they were there or not, and many of them are European Jews, they have no DNA even linked to that land, okay? Yet they feel that they have a right to that land to take it from the Palestinian who's been there for thousands of years. That is fundamentally wrong.
I would like to speak.
So when you want to play the victim, you can let me just finish. When you want to play the victim, all I'm going to say is go and look at the map of Palestine.
I want to talk about the map,
and you'll see who the victims are. You'll see who the violent. You will see who the violent perpetrators are. You will see who the thieves are, and you will see who the victims are. A picture says 1,000 words.
No, it says
they can come up with any type of spiel that they want to come up with. When the people march, when the people march on the streets of London, and they say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. This is not calling for the annihilation and the killing of all Jews. That is nonsense. That is rubbish. That is nonsense.
Can I speak, please? Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Because I haven't been allowed to speak. I would ask you politely to be. I would like to. Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's talk about a map, and let's talk about the horrors which the Roman Catholic Church did to Jews in Europe. And I have already conceded that Arabs and Jews lived together under the Ottoman Empire, which was the predecessor of the Mandate for Palestine.
You're repeating
now, I will tell you something.
I
will repeat it because you don't want
but
to learn.
But it's not valid for what we're talking about now.
You've just repeated your DNA claim, which people can go and
It's a fact.
check.
It's a fact. You can go check it.
Okay, you can go and check it.
I'm willing to put
another fact.
I'm willing to put my reputation on the record.
You are now interrupting me. I have got a picture of the flag for the Mandate for Palestine. It is a Star of David because the Mandate for Palestine was to create out of the home. You are now interrupting me. Was to create for the Jewish people a homeland.
Who gave them that right?
And the flag of the British was that if you were called a Palestinian, you were called a Jew. I will quote to you a Nazi Germany game. Now, Nazi Germany was the most evil regime.
It's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're not talking about that.
You are interrupting me.
But I think you're going way off point.
Because the Nazi evil people, the Nazis, who were playing the same games which the far right are playing now, the Nazis had a game of snakes and ladders where the Jewish people were to be deported to Palestine.
I'm not saying they weren't victims.
You are interrupting
I'm not saying they're not victims.
The British flag for the Mandate of Palestine was the Star of David because it was created by the League of Nations in 1922. And in 1922, I'll tell you about a map. Churchill, I've already said on camera, and I'll have the Bobites after me for that, was not always perfect. And what he did was he partitioned the Mandate. He partitioned and said that Jordan would be for the Arabs.
Oh, can I just come back with that point?
I am finishing. So the map of the Mandate for Palestine are the following territories. Gaza, the Gaza Strip. The country now known as Israel, Judea and Samaria, and I will use it by its proper name, it's known as the West Bank, and the modern state of Jordan. That was all the Mandate for Palestine, to be designated as a Jewish homeland for a people who've been oppressed in Europe for centuries.
Give them Europe. Give them Germany.
Yes, I've already
give them a part of Germany.
But the fact is,
don't steal somebody else's land.
You are interrupting me.
Can I just finish?
Sir, no, because
can you finish your point?
It is 2025, not 1925. 100 years have passed, and the people of Israel.
It's irrelevant.
It's
irrelevant.
Hamas
the persecution hasn't stopped
on the people of Israel.
Palestinians have been attacked for 75 years.
It was an evil
What about the women of children of Palestine? What about the women of Palestine? What about the children of Palestine? What about the Palestinian children? What about the Palestinian women who've been murdered and killed 100 times more than the Israelis? Right? Hold on a second. So your claim is some white men from Europe, let me just make my point. Some white men from Europe and America decided that they were going to take some land for some brown people in Palestine, and that makes it legal, and that makes it right. Why should we accept that? Why should we accept that? Why should we accept that? These people have been there for thousands of years, and someone says, I'm going to give your land. By the way, this marriage that the Jews had with the Europeans
to
settle, hold on a second, to settle in Palestine was a marriage of convenience, because the Europeans wanted the problem of Jewry, the Jewish problem
that's an outrageous claim.
As they saw it, because they stopped immigration even when the Holocaust was going on in Germany. They did not want Jews in Europe. So what? And that's true. You know that the Europeans and the Americans, they stopped Jewish immigration even while the Holocaust was going on. And so what they wanted to do was give them that part of land so that they could get rid of the Jews out of Europe, and they would have this land, and it would become an eternal base for the Europeans.
What about the photographs?
Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is simple.
Where did the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem spend the war,
Where did
the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem spend the war?
There were Zionists that went and met Hitler. There were Zionists that went and met Hitler. You know that. There were Zionists who went and met Hitler. Yes. So don't just point to the Grand Mufti. There were Zionists that went and met Hitler.
Genocide on Jews.
There were Zionists that met Hitler because to have the project of Israel, they wanted the Jews to be evicted from Europe so they could have their Zionist entity in Israel. So please, learn your history. Learn your history.
If on Facebook I put a picture of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem with Hitler,
let him make his point.
You carry on.
What land?
You say that the British didn't have the right to give it to the Jews.
Yes.
Why not? Whose was it?
Was it European?
The people who lived there. It was their land. Yes, it was. Hold on.
Oh yeah, he's with Hitler.
Hold on a second. The people that lived there did not own the land.
He's not with the fairy godmother.
They might have owned their house.
He's not with the fairy godmother. He's with Hitler.
Why? Why is that?
Because basically, what the Grand Mufti was
there
doing,
were people living there for thousands of years.
Commit genocide on the Jews.
Yes, I am.
That's what he was doing.
Yes, I do.
Maybe, yeah?
Yes, I do.
But is the country yours? No, your house. So
you
keep confusing.
Okay, fine. Okay. So my house is mine, right?
Yes.
My garden is my garden, right? So if you come and take my house,
yes.
Is that wrong?
Yes.
Is that wrong?
Yes.
Then that's what you've done. That's what you've done. That's exactly what you've done. So thank you for making my point.
If he doesn't,
thank you for making my point. Yeah. If he doesn't, somebody else will. Yes. Oh yes.
So wait. What you're saying is sorry.
Let him make his point.
Wait. Sorry, my brother. What you're suggesting is no houses were taken over.
Exactly.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Not with the UN vote.
What are you talking about?
The UN vote started the war, the civil war, which you like to deny.
Listen, the question is
expelled before 1948 and 1947 was when they started warring against the Jews.
Yes.
After the 1947 vote, the UN vote.
Do you think the 500 villages during the Nakba that were emptied out by the Israelis, 750,000 people, was that a good thing to do? Was that right?
Yes,
it was a good thing to do.
Of course it was.
There's our problem. Thank you.
Of course it was right.
Thank you very much.
It was war.
Thank you very much.
They started and they lost.
Now look at this. Now hold on a second. Okay. So if it great. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. I'm really glad you said that. Can I finish my point? I'm really glad he said that. Because he said, in war, if you take the land, then it's okay. Therefore, Might is right.
No, that's
No,
not
it's
what I
not.
Hold on a
It's
second.
not.
I haven't finished my point.
That's not what I said.
I haven't finished my
That's not
point.
what I said.
I haven't finished my
That's not
point.
what I said.
I haven't finished my
That's not
point.
what I said.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to let me finish my
don't
point.
paraphrase.
So
Don't
therefore,
rephrase.
might
No.
is right.
That's not
Now,
what I said.
the point here is,
I know.
under the United
Rewind
Nations,
what I said.
the very United Nations, the very United Nations that they keep citing about giving them the land, the very United Nations,
No, I did not
the
say
very United Nations, the very United Nations, the very United Nations that they cite about giving them the land, told them that what they've done is illegal.
No, the wrong
It's
United
illegal.
Nations.
But they don't care. But they don't care. But they don't care.
But wait a minute, we're talking about wars.
You know what? You're very good at doing these fancy sound bites with your snug smile.
Now you've got your smug smile as well.
Is because we have a Jew who knows something and has focus, and I'm not going to be distracted by all your stupid arguments.
Right.
First of all, don't misquote me. What I said is you do not get to start a war, lose it, and go back to square one.
Who started the war? Who started the war?
Arabs.
Who started?
Arabs in 47.
Who started it?
Again.
The Arabs.
Oliver, who started it?
Fourth time. Arabs in 47.
Yeah.
You want a fifth time? The
ahead.
Arabs in 47.
Right.
They
Started
started
the
the
war.
war after the 29 of November UN vote. They started
Why
the
did they
war
start the war?
because
The Palestinian
they didn't
hoax
want
is
Jews to have
ridiculous.
sovereignty in
It's
that
actually
land.
an elaborate hoax.
That is not a lie. That is the absolute truth. They started a civil war.
No, they're not,
It was all a
because
civil
what they're
war,
doing
because
is
there
they're
was no countries
attacking
yet.
military
There were no Arab
installations.
countries.
This guy's
There
just
was
admitted
a
that.
civil war in 1948, the day after Israel declared independence. The next day, they actually started a proper war. There was the Arab League of Nations, including Iraq,
Which
was
attacked
miles
away with armies on Israel.
And that was the second war, that was an actual war. So they started the civil war. They lost, many Arabs lost their homes in that civil war. And then they started a proper war. And then again, many Arabs lost their homes. Well, you start a war and you lose.
You take the
do not go
consequences.
back
Right.
to square one.
Now his claim is
Is this true?
his claim is
fact check that.
okay, let's fact check it. Right. His claim is the peaceful Jews just went in there to live in the land.
No, to be
To live in the hold on a second.
Again, don't misquote me. Don't misquote me.
To live in the land, to be sovereign in the land. These are just simultaneous. These are the same things.
It's always great when someone takes over your debate.
Stop misquoting me. Stop paraphrasing. What I said very clearly: the Jews came there. They bought land with cash.
Yes.
Every inch
Ottoman
of land,
landlords.
every
Of
inch
Ottoman
of land,
landlords.
exactly. Every inch of land that the Jews had in 1948 had been bought and paid for with cash.
and legal.
Every inch of land, but the Jews wanted to be sovereign. Sovereign is not the same as private land. Stop confusing the two, stop conflating.
Now don't interrupt me.
Because the Jews got
I've allowed you to come in twice. I've allowed you to come in twice. You interrupted me.
I should be here.
If I misquote you, if I misquote you, then you wait till I finish.
Stop misquoting.
If I misquote you, you wait till I finish, and then you speak. Do not cut me again.
We need some order
Now,
back in there
the
now.
Palestinian people,
Which are
he's
only
claiming,
60s,
don't
1960s.
shout in my ear, please.
Sorry.
The Palestinian people,
Which was 1960.
the land fund that he's talking, the land fund, don't, can you stop please?
Sorry.
Stop performing for the
The land fund, Steve,
Go time.
shut up,
So
Steve.
we need to go time.
The land fund, the land fund that was set up pre-1948, the decision was already made that this land was never going to be for two people. This was going to be a Jewish land. His surname is Weiss.
When the mandate said that, the mandate said it was a homeland.
Can I make my point?
Sorry, yeah. We need to,
The decision was already made that this land was never going to be shared.
Not even looking at the
Never going to be shared. Steve, it's my option.
I'm talking to him.
I'll talk how I want to talk because you're shouting in my ear.
Move away.
So get lost.
Having a conversation.
So the land fund that was set up. The other thing was that the land that was purchased. Some of the land was purchased. He's right. Some of the land. Don't interrupt me. Some of the land was purchased. Now, what did they do? They evicted the Arab farmers and they put the Jewish farmers in and they were evicting them from the land, slowly but surely. Now, this was no secret. The Arabs knew this was never going to be a sharing of the land. this was going to be an occupation, this was going to be a subjugation, this was going to be an oppression, and they were intending from their own testimony, from their own testimony, they were going to take all of the land. Now, even if you argue,
that's me.
I know, Steve, it's difficult for you to hear because it's such a Zionist, because you got your head up the arse of the Zionist. I know it's uncomfortable.
You like talking about
I know it's uncomfortable for you. I know it's really uncomfortable. You like the smell, don't you? You like the smell. You like the smell.
We do time.
So the point here is the intention was always, and this was verbalized. You can go and fact check me if you want to. The early Zionists made it very clear that this was never going to be shared land. This was going to be Jewish land for the Jewish people. It was never going to be shared with the Palestinians. And they have instigated. If you look at the map today, it's clear that the very intention and the very actions that the Israelis have done is to occupy all of the land, which, by the way, they probably will. That's the reality.
There are 2 million Arabs in full rights.
So you're not the victims.
No.
You're not the victims here.
The victims.
The victims are the Palestinians.
No, they're not the victims.
They're the victims.
They're the instigators.
You're not the
They're
victims.
losers.
No.
They're the losers.
It was their land. You came into their land. You evicted them from their land. They are the victims.
They were tenants.
You are the thieves. You are the thieves. You stole their land. You stole their land, and you persecuted them. And so that's why they fought you.
Right, can I make
That's
a point?
why they fought you.
Can I make a point? And I don't want to shout, sir. And this guy here. Can I make a very, very important point here? Before the First World War, this was the land of the Ottoman Empire.
You keep repeating that.
I know, but it is very important. You don't like to hear it. Because
I have no issue with that.
Jewish people, and this guy knows a lot more than me.
Give them Germany. Give them a part of Germany.
The land.
Why steal somebody else's land?
To my old house and I say sorry, I didn't mean to sell it to you. I'm really sorry.
I'm not talking about that.
No.
I'm not talking about that.
It was bought legally.
I'm not talking about that.
Before the First World War, and the Ottomans. And this is the other lie.
You're just spouting propaganda now.
No, I'm not.
It is. It's propaganda. It's
At the end of the 19th century,
It's
there was
nonsense.
no such thing as a Palestinian people. They were an invention of the KGB in the 60s. And what happened? What happened was
Don't
the
rewrite
Ottomans
history.
lost the war.
Don't rewrite history.
I'm not rewriting history. The Ottoman Empire was broken up by the British and French into mandates. One of the mandates was the mandate for Palestine, which was to be a Jewish
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares?
And the Jews legitimately
Who cares?
bought land.
There's people living
shouting
there.
across me.
It's nonsense.
You are shouting across me. You are talking to your cameras.
You were doing exactly the same to me.
I am talking that. Then, war number one, the Ottomans lost the First World War. The treaties made by the international community, which you love so much, which is the League of Nations.
No, I don't. I think they're a bunch of thieves.
The League of Nations set up the mandate.
They're a bunch of thieves.
The United Nations voted to support the creation of Israel.
Why do they do that?
Partition.
Why do they do that?
The Arabs rejected
why shouldn't they reject it?
The Arabs
Why should they accept it? Why should they accept their theft of their land? Why should they accept
Arab
it?
states
Why should they accept it?
You're talking
Why should they accept the Palestinians being evicted from their land?
You're talking across me, sir.
I mean, the utter hubris, the hubris. I can't believe it.
It wasn't their land.
No, it was your land.
They were not sovereign.
It was your land.
They were not sovereign.
It was yours.
It was your land.
It was yours.
It was a European.
Because you were there 5,000 years ago.
It was your land.
It was your land.
I don't
Yeah,
focus
it's your
with
land.
all your fallacies
Yes.
and all your stories.
Yes.
They bought
You're
the
the
land.
victims. You're the victims. You're the victims.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to lose focus.
You're the victims.
As a European,
Eternal victims.
As a European, it was your land.
Eternal victims.
As a European, it was your land.
They were offered
As a
sovereignty
European, it was
for
your
part of
land.
the land which they rejected.
Yes.
They did not need to be offered sovereignty.
It's somebody's
They were offered
birthday.
sovereignty.
As a
They rejected
European, it was your
They were
land.
offered
Why should they accept
sovereignty,
it?
and
They rejected
Why should they accept it?
Because it was the first time they could
Why
be
should they
sovereign.
accept your sovereignty?
No,
Sovereignty
Why
for
should-
the war was the Ottoman.
Why should they accept
Arab sovereignty.
Why should they accept terms that are
Arab
clearly
sovereignty.
against them?
Why is it
Why
against
should
them?
they?
They were offered sovereignty.
They're taking
was
land
their
off
land.
them. Why should they accept that?
That was their land.
It's nonsense.
It wasn't their
Would you
land.
accept
It was
your?
their
Would you
land.
accept your
Ottoman
house to be
land.
taken
So
over?
whose
No.
land
It was Ottoman
It was
land.
their
It
land.
wasn't Arab land.
It was
Ottoman
their
The
land.
Arabs were occupied by the
Their
Ottomans.
land.
It
It was their land.
They've never been
Okay, it was their house.
They were
It was
not
their
Yeah,
house.
exactly.
It was their house.
Again, confusing public
Can I just say I agree
Anyway,
with
I'm going to
you.
finish what I'm going to say. I'm going to finish what I'm saying.
The Turks.
I'm going to finish
But
what
they were all under
excuse me.
occupation of the Turks.
I'm going to
We need some order then.
I'm going to finish what I'm going to say.
No, because
right?
you keep interjecting.
I'm
me.
going to finish
You
what I'm
keep
going to say.
interjecting.
I'm going to.
The
It's nothing to
Turks
do with
colonised the Arabs.
performance. Please, just
Cameron
1 second. Okay.
It was British occupation.
I think.
Roman occupation.
It was all occupation.
All the way back to
So does that
Roman
make it
occupation.
right? So does that make it right?
Well, I always
So does
blame
that
the
make it
Romans
right?
for everything.
Does that make it right?
Belong to the Jews.
Does that make it right?
Especially with the
Does that make it
Roman
right?
Catholic Church.
No, the Jews didn't
How's the
colonize
Pope
them.
doing?
The Palestinian people,
Colonization
the
project.
Palestinian people,
don't know.
according to Harvard,
You're not Popish.
excuse me, let me make my point.
No, you're
Harvard University
You're a Tommy.
did a DNA test on the Palestinian people. Between 50 and 70% of the DNA of the Palestinian
I reckon
people
this is dodgy.
goes back to the Canaanite people
Canaanite
for
people.
3,500
I think
years
that's
ago.
a lie.
They
That's a
are
lie.
from that
I actually
land.
think that's a lie.
Many of the Israelis have Polish DNA. They have Hungarian DNA. They have a Greek
All the DNA
and Italian DNA. They're not Semitic.
Zionists do.
Many of them.
Zionists do.
So this is not your land.
Only the Safaris.
It says the Safaris and some of the other groups, they have more blood and they have more DNA connected to that land than many of the Polish. Even Netanyahu's own name is a Polish name. It's not even Benjamin Netanyahu. He just made it up to sound more Jewish. That's the sort of conniving nonsense that they do to fool the people.
What about the Kaaba
Nonsense.
chant?
Nonsense.
What about
Anyway,
the Kaaba
I'm done
chant?
with
Do you
this.
want
Thank
to
you very
explain-
much.
Actually, sir, I would
just
like
nonsense.
this gentleman.
Nonsense.
Do you know
The world clearly sees. The world clearly sees what is happening here. The world sees it. You're a minority, and the people that support this genocide are a minority. The vast majority of the human race are on the side of the Palestinians.
What about the
It is a small minority, literally a handful in the global community. A handful. A handful. Ah, but you see, every tyrant, every tyrant has prevailed for a time, and then the hammer of Allah comes down. Enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy it while it lasts. But if you have persecution, if you have persecution of a people, it will never last. Allah has made one thing is sunnah.
You're speaking.
Every society that has done what Israel is doing
What about the Kaaba chant?
has murdered and
What
killed
about the Kaaba
with
chant?
impunity. It has seen the downfall of its nation. And,
What about the Kaaba chant?
if Israel does not stop, eventually
What
it
about
will
the
fall.
Kaaba chant?
Just as every nation has
What
fallen.
about the Kaaba
Just as
chant?
every nation has fallen.
Never lasted more than 8
Never,
years.
never. Never. Exactly. And it doesn't matter if it's a Muslim country, if it's a Jewish country, or it's an atheist country. If you are merciless and you are unjust,
You know what it is?
you will have a downfall. It will happen. It has always happened, and it will happen. And these are the, by the way, these are the last breaths of the American empire. It's the last gasp. It's heavily in debt. Some
heavily in debt.
$45 trillion.
They're going to collapse.
And at this rate, they will be bankrupt.
They are going to be
And your bully that supplies your weapons and gives you the cover, when it falls, if you're not careful, you will fall as well.
What about the Kaaba chant? Can I just close in one sentence and one word? K-H-A-Y-B-A-R. Kaaba chant, which is out of either Quran or Hadith, calling for genocide of Jews.
No, it doesn't.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I do. The Abbas.
No, you don't. You just showed your ignorance. You have no idea what you're talking about. And you know what? This is what they have to. This is how they have to.
Explain.
When we have a discussion, they have to start talking about nonsense. Make stuff up to make an argument. It's embarrassing.
I've heard this with my own al-Hayyub.
That is on the soldiers' uniform.
Yes.
That shows part of Saudi.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's
exactly.
Jordan. That was part of the mandate.
Exactly.
Because it was part of the mandate.
Yeah, so if it's part of the mandate, everyone has to accept it.
Israel for aid. Are we finished?
I think you're finished, yeah.
No, I'm not finished.
I think you're finished and he's finished.
Oh, well, you haven't explained
Alhamdulillah, I'm still here.
You have not explained
you don't know what you're talking about.
Right, the K-H-A-Y-B-A-R.
Let's talk about unicorns.
I'm talking to your channel.
Let's talk about unicorns now.
I'm not talking about
Anyway.
Right, what else you got to talk about?
Are you done? Let's shake hands.
We agree. We're both going to end this and agree to disagree. There we go.
Fine. Okay.
I really do love the Arab people, though.
Thank you.
I hope you win.
It shows. Okay.
No, I do.
Fine. I'm just going to finish up.
Can I get my?
Please go ahead.
What's the name of your channel? What's the name of the channel?
I don't know what the channels are.
What's the channel?
Okay. I think that a lot of people like to complicate the issue. Oh, the land was purchased. Oh, it's the bad Arabs. They're the ones. They're the culprits. They didn't want Jews. They fought the Jews. Go and read the article by Professor David Weissenstein. He wrote in the Jewish Chronicle. He wrote an article how Islam saved Jewry in Europe. It was the Islamic empires that stepped in when the Christian empires were annihilating and they were massacring the Jews. They had safe haven in the Islamic empire. We do not have a problem with Jews. And as a Muslim, even when we look at the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when a Jewish man and a Muslim comes to the Prophet, peace be upon him, with a disagreement, the Prophet sided with the Jew because he was right. Because he was right. And we are proud that is our paradigm. Now, I'm not saying that there were no injustices done by some Muslims against Jews. Of course there were. But the comparison between what the Christians did to the Jews is chalk and cheese. And those things that happened between the Muslims and the Jews were the exceptions. They were not the rules. And I challenge you to go and do your research. And I'm willing to have my credibility on record to say that they were exceptions. They were not the rules. The Jews found sanctity in Arab Muslim lands. We don't have a problem with Jews. This is not about Jews. But when the state of Israel was formed and founded, the Arabs were forced to accept what some powerful nations told them that they would have to accept. Why should they accept that? Why should they accept the Palestinians to lose their land, to lose their property? Now, I'm honest enough to say that the land fund, the Jewish land fund, did indeed purchase some of the land. I'm not lying and saying that they didn't. But this was an effort. And they made it very clear. And if you go and check the records of the early speeches given by the people who were responsible for the land fund, they made it very, very clear, and they're on record of saying that this land is not going to be for two people. This land was always going to be for the Jews alone. It was going to be a Jewish state. So they sneakily and they connively, they did what they had to do, often instigating wars, instigating uproar within the community, where they had gangs running around, emptying out villages. This was going on. This was systematic. The Arabs were not stupid. The Palestinians were not stupid. They knew what these people were saying, that we're going to clear you out of the land. We're buying the land, and then the Arab farmers were thrown off the land that they'd been farming for years. Now you could say, oh, but that's their choice. They bought some land, they want Jews to farm that land. But if you do that systematically, then it becomes quite clear that this is not a sharing of the land, this is an occupation. this is an instigation of a dominance on this land. And they rejected it, rightly so. And there were many massacres that happened. And I know that there were some massacres and some killings that were done by Palestinians. But remember here that the clear victim is the one who's evicted from his land. The one who's persecuted, the one who's thrown out of his land is the clear victim. Now, when he might sometimes do things that are also unjust or unfair, it's not he that becomes the problem. It's not that group that's the problem. The problem is the instigator, the propagator, the one that starts the ball rolling. That is the one that needs to be stopped. You would not accept it if somebody came and took your land, your garden from you, from your house, and said, oh, my great-great-great-grandfather used to live here. I don't care if it's been in your family for 10 generations or for 15 generations. My great-great-granddad 2,000 years ago used to live there, and even though I can't prove it, it looks like a very nice olive tree. It looks like a very nice olive grove. I'm just going to take it. That's got to be wrong, for God's sake. Nobody should accept that. Now we have people who want to legitimize this theft. Theft is always theft. It doesn't become legitimate because decades have passed. Now you could say that, oh, there were empires and in war people took land, as the Jewish friend here said. The Orthodox Jewish friend. What did he say? He said, you don't get to start a war and then go back to your land. Well, the United Nations after 1948 said exactly that. They said that no longer can territory be occupied under war. And the reason why the international community agreed with that is because if you don't have that rule in place, you're going to have endless wars where people are going to now fight back to reoccupy their land. And then they will fight back to take the land back again, and it will never end. So there was a line drawn in the sand that no longer is it legal for people to acquire land through war. That is exactly what Israel did. And it's not a case that they were innocent and they just wanted to live peacefully with their Arab cousins, and they had these horrible these medieval Arabs, savage Arabs, just hated Jews. They were anti-Semitic and they just wanted them killed, and that's why these poor Jews had to just take all of their land. No, this was the plan from day one, and we need to call it out for what it is. This is theft, this is occupation, and this is indeed genocide, and it meets the requirements and the definitions of what genocide is. It's widely agreed upon. And just because there are a handful of people who are pretending that this is not a genocide, like this idiot Piers Morgan, who says that because they could have killed all the Palestinians if they wanted to, because they haven't, therefore it's not a genocide. That's not the definition of genocide. It's in part or in whole. It's not about just wiping everybody off. It is well established within jurists that this is a genocide. It is ethnic cleansing. They are clearing out a people, and Trump has made it very clear. As shameless as he is, he said we want to take them out, and he wants to build a holiday resort there. I mean, it's utterly disgusting and despicable. Now, I want to finish with this. If after 16, 18 months you're still supporting Israel, then you are either a racist or you are a psychopath, or perhaps the third is that you're willfully ignorant. Now, the third one, willfully ignorant, cannot apply because the level of evidence, the frequency and the veracity of that evidence means that you cannot claim ignorance on this issue. So either you're a racist or you're a psychopath, because Israel has laws that are racially segregating, different between Arabs and between Jews. A person born in Manhattan in America has right to return back to land in Palestine, and a Palestinian does not have the right to return. This is the quintessential definition of an apartheid law. And even the South Africans, even Mandela, agreed that the apartheid in South Africa was nothing compared to the apartheid that we're seeing about the Palestinian people. It's apartheid on steroids. Now, if you support Zionism, which is a racist ideology, then that makes you a racist. Just as if you supported South Africa during apartheid, that would have made you a racist because you would be supporting racist laws. And the other one is, of course, as I said, you have to be a genocidal maniac yourself to support Israel, to support the Zionism. Now, you have to make the choice. Which one of these two are you? Are you a racist or are you a genocidal maniac to still support what is happening? You can't claim, oh, it's Hamas. You can't claim these things because the very Israeli soldiers are filming and are documenting their crimes, including rape, by the way, of Palestinian prisoners. Okay, so their evidence is clear, and it's literally from the very perpetrators. There is no room to maneuver. There are no excuses left. You have to condemn it because this is wrong. This is unjust. And just remember one thing. As Muslims, alhamdulillah, when we see an injustice, the Quran tells us, even be a witness against yourselves, against your parents, against your families, against your rich or poor. Even if you are the one doing the injustice, you have to condemn it in Islam as a Muslim. So when it comes to Israel, when it comes to Hamas, when it comes to Hezbollah, whoever targets civilians deliberately, killing women or children, we condemn it. We do not accept it. As Muslims, we do not accept that you can target deliberately children, deliberately targeting non-combatants. We don't accept it. But at the same time, when you have Mike Tyson in a ring with a 3-year-old, I'm not going to slap the 3-year-old all the time and tell the 3-year-old off for kicking Mike Tyson in the shin. I'm going to be telling Mike Tyson off because he's the superpower, he's the giant, and he's the instigator, clearly, because a 3-year-old is not going to want to fight Mike Tyson. That's the reality. The Israelis, the Palestinians rather, have agreed on the two-state solution. They agreed to the 1967 borders, but Israel do not want it. And every time there are negotiations, Israel have a term, and it's called the peace offensive. Every time Palestinians are close to having some peaceful settlement, they call it the peace offensive because they want all of the land. And I'm going to finish on this. Just look at the map of Palestine, and that should tell you everything. This is not a people who want to share the land. This is not a people who intended ever to share this land. Being a military superpower that they are, and with the support of America, a superpower, they could have divided the land, they could have had their security. But the reality is, they want the river to the sea. And the patch on their soldiers, the map is not just Israel. It extends Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and it takes all of the Arab lands. That is the goal. And that is what they want. And they have verbalized it, and their actions have shown it. There is no room for maneuver. So all of these excuses about the Palestinians did this and they did that, I'm sorry. Your guys are admitting it on camera what they want to do. They want these people out. They want the land. They want to take all of the land, and they're finding excuses that we were attacked on the 7th of October. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Well, why were you attacking them for the last 75 years? Why were you killing their people? Why were you putting them through starvation? Counting the calories of how many calories entered. How sadistic is that? So you cannot do that to a people and then expect them to always act rationally and react legally with proportionality. People will lose their minds. If you grow up in a concentration camp, you see your brother being killed, you see your father being arrested, brutalized, murdered, raped with a barrel of a gun and things like that, which are happening. It drives you to insanity. And maybe you do insane things, maybe you do bad things. We're not justifying those. But we need to stop the oppression. and we need to stop the occupation. And I'm glad that this mirage, this nonsense about what Zionism actually stands for has collapsed. It has fallen. It is naked and it is bare for everybody to see as to what this ideology actually is. It's a racist, supremacist ideology, and it is a disgrace that people still justify it and they support it. It is a barbaric, violent, oppressive ideology. And I'm glad that it's naked and shameless for everyone to see that they can stand against it. And the globe, the vast majority of the globe agrees that the Palestinian people are being persecuted, their land is being stolen, and that Zionism is evil and it's a bad thing and it needs to be stopped. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Doing a great job.
Your name, brother? Abbas.